friends. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. For those of you that are new, my name is Odie, and in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about and comparing my first pregnancy to the second one, the one that I'm going through right now. And I'm going to be focusing on the first trimesters. So eventually I'll have a video for the second and third trimesters. I mainly just wanted to do this for my own personal benefit. I just thought it would be cool to document my pregnancies. So years from now, I can look back and remember what the experience was like, how I was feeling. But yeah, having said that, I did want to put in a little bit of a disclaimer here. The first trimester for me have been really rough. So to be honest, I don't have a lot of positive things to say about my experience in the first trimester. And actually, to be honest, I'm just gonna say like the first half of my pregnancies, they've been rough. They've been very rough. Not enjoyable. Having said that though, that doesn't mean that I regret anything. Quite the contrary. You know, I'm so thankful that I have my son and that I'm pregnant right now. I'm quite happy about that, and obviously, yes, the first pregnancy was very rough, but you know, here I am pregnant again. And also, this is just my experience. When it comes to pregnancy, it can vary greatly from woman to woman. I have friends who had absolutely no pregnancy sickness whatsoever. Then there's also the other end of the spectrum where women can get so ill that, you know, they have to be hospitalized for a certain period of time. So it's very different. And at the end of the day, I think it just makes sense for these experiences to be out in the open. So when women are researching and trying to learn more about pregnancy, they know that these are all the types of pregnancies. You could end up in either camp, but at least you're more prepared. Because I think that was what made the first pregnancy really hard for me, was that I was kind of caught off guard. I felt like I had no idea how rough like pregnancy sickness could be. I mean, I'd heard of like morning sickness, but you know, you see it in the movies and it's just like, yeah, you throw up, but then they seem to be totally fine throughout the day. And you know, that's not the experience. And I think it's better to be honest about, you know, what we experience so that other women kind of have a better idea of what pregnancy is actually like. So yeah, so just wanted to say that even though this particular video is not going to be like, you know, sunshine and roses, and yes, I was glowing, and I mean, my first pregnancy, I felt like I was glowing. This one, not so much, but that's what I mean. Even the same woman could have very different pregnancies in her lifetime. So it's not that I regret anything. I just want to be honest for myself and for anybody else who happens to find this video. So yeah, so now that I said that, we'll get right into the video here. Okay, sorry, I'm just quickly jumping on here because I forgot to mention one thing in my disclaimer, and that is that this is not medical advice. I am not giving out medical advice. I am not a doctor. I have absolutely no medical background. I'm just simply sharing my experience. So please, if you have any medical concerns or questions, please speak with your doctor. Okay, that's it. We'll get back into the video. So I did write down some notes, and I'm hoping that's going to help me stay on topic and not ramble on and on. So first I'm going to talk about my first pregnancy. And I'll just start from the very beginning. So when I decided to go off birth control for my first pregnancy, I did my own research. You know, I read that I needed to go on prenatal vitamins. I also read that while it was totally possible to get pregnant as soon as you stop taking your birth control, it could also take your body 6 months to a year to kind of recover from birth control. So yeah, I'd been on birth control for 5 years. Before that, I'd never been on birth control, and the only birth control I had been on up to that point was a less. So yeah, I was totally okay with it taking, 6 months to a year to possibly get pregnant. For me, that was totally fine. In fact, I remember feeling a little bit relieved because I thought, that's perfect. I will have time to kind of like prepare and get ready for a possible pregnancy. Lo and behold, though, I actually ended up getting pregnant. I think it was four months after going off birth control. And of course, I didn't realize right away that I was pregnant. I wasn't expecting it, and I honestly didn't really know much about how I was going to be feeling. So the first symptoms that I started to feel were just being tired and a little bit of nauseousness and just feeling off. Now, at the time, I thought that all these symptoms were due to my husband purchasing some very spicy chicken wings from our local grocery store. I remember it was these ghost pepper chicken wings. Now, I knew ghost peppers were super, super spicy, but because he got these wings from the grocery store, I just didn't think they were actually going to be that spicy. Anyways, he cooked them, we ate them, and whoa, were they hot. Like, they were so, so hot. And a couple days later, I remember starting to feel off. So I just assumed it was because of these chicken wings. So I remember thinking like, oh, the wings totally did not sit right. I gave it a few more days. The nausea was still there. Sorry, just jumping in here again because I feel like I'm pronouncing nausea wrong, and it's gonna be pronounced this way for the rest of the video, so my apologies. They're just some words that I can't pronounce, and apparently this is one of them, so yeah, sorry about that. And I felt like every day got a little bit worse, so I did start to get a little bit worried that like, uh-oh, I've kind of messed up my stomach. So I did think in my head like I might have to go to the doctor, but this was also like a very hectic time in our lives. My husband and I were traveling back and forth between two cities for his work, and we were also in the midst of buying our home. And so it was just, there was a lot going on. So I kind of kept putting off going to the doctor, kind of hoping that my body would like heal itself. I know, really bad. I shouldn't have done that. But I was also kind of embarrassed to go to the doctor and say like, I think I messed up my stomach because I ate really spicy chicken wings. Finally, I think it was like the second or third day in our home. I had woken up that morning feeling really nauseous. I was kind of just doing rounds around my house. I was just walking around my house doing laps, because standing still or sitting down made me feel worse. And that's when my husband kind of piped up and had said like, could you be pregnant? And I remember like answering right away like, no. But then it clicked and I was like, maybe maybe that's what it is. So he went out to get breakfast. When he came back, he had breakfast and he had a pregnancy test with him. So I didn't take it that day because reading the instructions on the box, it had said that it's best to take the test early in the morning when the first time you go to the washroom. So I waited till the next day, and yes, it was positive. So yeah, I went to the doctor, and I think when I went to the doctor, they said that I can't remember if it was 8 or 9 weeks along. So by this time, I was feeling a lot of symptoms. I was feeling very nauseous. Like I said, this is around the time where I started throwing up in the mornings. And I pretty much threw up every morning in the first trimester. Sometimes I would throw up at night as well. During the day, I felt nauseous. It was worse in the mornings, but it was still pretty bad during the day. I was also very tired. I had a very heightened sense of smell. I felt like I smelled everything and everything smelled gross. Also, I had food aversions to everything, you know, even like chocolate, candy. I have a huge sweet tooth and I couldn't even stomach the sweet junk food. So yeah, in the beginning of the first trimester, I just lived off of crackers, bananas, and cereal. Because yeah, those were the only things that I could really stomach. Now, I think it was around my third doctor's appointment when the doctor had mentioned that I had lost a couple pounds. It wasn't a lot. I think I had lost like 2 pounds. But, you know, she said, this is not a good thing and we need to fix it as soon as we can. I know you're really sick, but she was like, you need to try different foods, try to find something that, you know, sits well in your system. Also eat more often, but smaller meals. So eat smaller meals more often throughout the day. She also gave me a prescription for nausea. I took it, but to be honest, I don't feel like it did much. I still felt pretty bad, but because it did kind of scare me when she said I really shouldn't be losing weight, I made more of an effort. I forced myself to eat smaller meals more often throughout the day. Eventually, I did discover that brothy soups actually felt okay and didn't taste horrible. I did start eating a lot of brothy soups. I ordered a lot of Vietnamese pho soup. So yeah, that was kind of like my first trimester. Well, no, my pregnancy symptoms did not stop once the first trimester ended. It actually spilled into my second trimester. So to be honest, I feel like the first half of my pregnancy, I felt sick. I do think there was a little bit of an improvement in my second trimester, but I would still throw up once in a while in the mornings. I still felt nauseous. I still had like the heightened sense of smell. I don't remember exactly when it went away, but looking back, I feel like the pregnancy sickness lasted for about the first half of my overall pregnancy. Now, if I could think of any positives from the first trimester of my first pregnancy, I would have to say that I definitely noticed a difference in my skin right away. I had always been nervous about pregnancy because I have struggled with acne, and I had heard that in some women, pregnancy can make acne worse. So I was honestly thinking that I was going to be one of those people. So I was expecting my skin to be just crazy, but it actually wasn't. I feel like I noticed almost right away that my skin was softer and clearer, and it was really nice. Another thing that I noticed was that my hair wasn't shedding as much, and that was early on, because again, I had issues with my hair to start with. So I noticed when my hair stopped, it didn't fully stop shedding, but it shed way less. Like, you know, when I brush my hair, I would see maybe like 2 or 3 strands instead of like, you know, 200. 200 might be too much, but you know what I mean. Like, it was a drastic change, enough that I took notice of it. So yeah, if I could say there were some positives to the first trimester in my first pregnancy, it was my skin and my hair. So yeah, now we'll move on to present day. Let me turn my notes over. And again, I'll start from the very beginning. After I had my son, I had to wait 3 months before I could go on any type of birth control. So yeah, so once the 3-month mark arrived, I made an appointment and I was like, okay, doctor, what can I go on? And they suggested an IUD. Now, I don't remember the brand. I have no idea what it was. But yeah, they suggested I should go on that because I was breastfeeding, and that was the best one to be on while I was breastfeeding. So, you know, I just said, okay, cool. Made the appointment to get the IUD, got the IUD. That was a horrible experience. I was told that it would not be painful, and that was a lie. But that's a story for a different time. Anyways, got the IUD. So I was on that for about 2 years, 2.5 years. Then my husband and I talked. We decided, okay, I think we're ready. So I went off the birth control, and I was honestly expecting to get pregnant pretty quickly, just because the first time it happened pretty quickly. But this time around, it did take longer. It took over a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. Now, I'm not sure why that is. It could be my age. You know, I was 36 when I found out I was pregnant last year in October. I was much older than the first time. It also could have been maybe the type of birth control. I don't know. It could have been many things. Stress. I know stress has a huge effect on our bodies. So who knows? The thing is that it did take longer for it to happen the second time around. So in terms of the pregnancy symptoms the second time around, there were some similarities, but there were also some differences. So I still felt tired. I felt nauseous. I had the heightened sense of smell again, the food aversions, and of course the second time around I did catch on to the symptoms very early. So I would say like early October is when I started to feel off, and right away I was like, oh, I think I might be pregnant. I didn't say anything outwardly. I did wait till I actually missed my period. So I didn't take a pregnancy test till the end of October. Actually, it was October 31st. So Halloween day, that morning, I took a pregnancy test, and yes, I was pregnant. By this time, I was already feeling tired, nauseous. Like I said, I had the heightened sense of smell and the food aversions. Now, this time around, I did not throw up as much, which was a good thing. I remember I threw up like once I hit the 11 week mark. I threw up a couple times, then I stopped, and then around the 15 week mark, I started throwing up again, but then it stopped. And then again around the like 17 week mark. And if I did throw up, it was only in the mornings. But the nausea still felt pretty intense. I don't know if maybe I was getting better at preventing myself from throwing up. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the doctors had told me that having an empty stomach made nausea worse. So they had told me to have like crackers next to my bed. So when I woke up, I could, snack on them slowly while I'm laying in bed. For me also, liquids induced vomiting. So I tried to hold off drinking anything early in the morning. Drinking liquids was really hard during the first trimester. I had to just kind of like sip on water throughout the day, because if I gulped water down or if I drank too fast, right away I would feel nauseous. So yeah, that's something I forgot to mention, is that it is best to eat something, even if it's something small, and like I had said earlier, having smaller meals throughout the day, because yeah, feeling hungry or being on an empty stomach makes nausea worse. So I don't know if it was because I was doing a better job of, eating little bits of food the second time around, that I wasn't throwing up as much, or maybe just this was a totally different experience. I'm not sure, but I'm happy that I wasn't throwing up as much. Now, in terms of what I was eating this second time around, same thing. I was eating bananas, crackers, cereal, yogurt. Actually, yogurt did feel kind of nice. I did notice that this time around, cold food items felt soothing. Freezing fruit, that was a new discovery for me. So my husband would buy like blueberries, raspberries, and I would put them in the freezer. And then when I was feeling like nauseous, I would take them out and eat them. And that actually, I felt it helped a little bit with the nauseous feeling. Other symptoms too that I was experiencing were heartburn, crazy heartburn. Now, I did have heartburn in my first pregnancy, but that was later on, like in the third trimester. This time I was experiencing it in the first trimester, and it was really intense and really painful. I also had crazy bloating, like intense bloating. I would wake up in the mornings looking normal, but by the end of the night, my stomach was super bloated. It looked like I was like 5 months pregnant. Oh, other symptoms too that I was experiencing were heart palpitations, which that did scare me because I had not experienced heart palpitations before, and I usually felt them at nighttime when I was laying down. Now, it would only last for like, well, at the time it felt like it would last a long time, but when I actually timed them, it would last for maybe like 15 minutes, and then it would kind of calm down. But it turns out that that is normal. Now, if you're having heart palpitations for a long period of time, then obviously that's not a good thing, and you need to speak to your doctor. Oh, and I should have put this disclaimer early on as well. I might write it in text, but I'm not a doctor. This is just my experience. If you're watching this, you need to speak to your doctor about any symptoms that you're feeling. You need to tell them and ask them questions and take their advice. I have no medical credentials, experience whatsoever. This is just my own personal experience. So yeah, please speak to your doctor. So yeah, I had the heart palpitations and also sensitivity to heat. I would especially notice it when I was washing my face in the mornings. If the water was too warm, right away I would feel like a headache, not like a normal headache that I've had before. This was different, but yeah, it was like a weird headache, and I would feel it right away on all along my forehead. Same at nighttime. Sometimes the heat would kick in at nighttime and it would wake me up because I would start to have this crazy headache. Sleeping at nighttime became really hard because of all these new symptoms. I mean, I struggle with sleep already, so having all these symptoms just made that even worse. And if you don't get enough sleep the following morning, it makes you feel even worse. So it was just kind of like this vicious cycle. Now, when it came to my skin and my hair, I didn't see much of an improvement. In fact, quite the opposite. I felt like things got a little bit worse. So when it came to my skin, it was really rough. I was having breakouts, and it did not look good. Now, before I got pregnant, I was already struggling with my skin. I think it had to do with like stress and, everything that's going on in the world. But I think one of the major factors that affected my skin was the lack of sleep. I know that when I don't get good sleep, I'm gonna wake up with some pimples, like a breakout. When I don't get sleep, it shows up on my face. So I think that's why this time around I didn't see an improvement in my skin. It was just because I wasn't getting good sleep. When it came to my hair, I didn't notice a difference in the shedding. I feel like it was still shedding the same way it always had. So that was kind of a bummer because I was hoping that, at least I would have good skin again and good hair, but that didn't happen. Now, when did I finally start feeling some relief from my pregnancy sickness? I would say around the 18 to 19 week mark. I do feel like I started to see an improvement. The nauseousness went down. I started to feel a little bit more energy. And I'm still dealing with the bloating. That hasn't gone away, unfortunately. And depending on the type of food I eat, I can get heartburn, but it's nothing compared to what it was, the first few weeks of the first trimester. Oh yeah, and I still have the sensitivity to heat. I just don't like it when it's too hot. It doesn't feel good, which makes me kind of happy that we're in winter right now, because I don't know, if I had gotten pregnant during the summer, I think that would have been really rough with the heat sensitivity. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for my first trimester in the second pregnancy. I think another added stress to all of this has been, what we're all going through, the shutdowns and lockdowns. But I mean, that has an effect on everybody. So, in terms of like how I tried to think positively about the first trimester, was that the symptoms that I was feeling helped reassure me that I was pregnant. I tried to think of it as I may wake up nauseous, but the nauseousness reminds me that the hormones are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It kind of did and does give me peace of mind that, according to my doctor, all the symptoms are good, they're good signs, and it just means that everything is moving along the way it's supposed to. So that has been my experience with the first trimester in both my pregnancies. If anybody's watching and you've been pregnant or you are pregnant, what were the hardest symptoms you dealt with during your first trimester? And did you have any symptoms that were actually good and that you actually liked? Let me know down in the comments, because I always find it really interesting, other people's pregnancy stories. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you watched it, I hope you guys found it helpful and a little bit informative. Like I said, at the end of the day, the most important thing is for you to speak to your doctor. Your doctor is the one that knows, they're the expert. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, please take care and bye.